Hello everyone. Welcome to Songbirds Creations, Crochet and More. My name is Margaret and I'd like to welcome you into the Songbird's Nest. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for visiting with me again. If you're new here, thank you as well. I hope you enjoy what you see today and decide to become a subscriber too. At the least, I do ask that you just leave me a thumbs up. It's free, it's easy, and it really will help my channel to grow. So today I am going to be offering you a tutorial for what I call the Layers of Kindness sleeved poncho. This poncho is beautiful but so easy to create. It looks much harder than what it really is, and I think that you will enjoy having this piece to add to your fall wardrobe. It is a nice layering piece. I don't know that it is warm enough to wear as an outer garment, but it would be really nice to wear over a long sleeve shirt or something like that. So grab a drink, grab a comfy seat, a hook, some yarn, and let's get started. I'll be right back with you just as soon as I change my camera orientation, and we will be ready to go. I was going back through my videos to do my editing and figured out that my camera did not save one of the pieces of the video, one of the most important pieces, the very first row. So let me first start out by letting you know this is the yarn that I'm going to be using for the poncho. It is from Ice Yarns, and the name of the yarn is Rosetto. It is a lightweight 3, and it kind of goes thick to thin throughout the ball of yarn, which I like. It's fun. This is a really pretty color changing yarn. I like it a lot. And it is a 30% wool, 70% acrylic, so it is very nice and soft. You can kind of tell it's got a bit of wool in it, but it's not scratchy by any means. It's really nice. So that's what I'm going to be working with. And then I'm going to be using a size J. It's my J clover hook, and I love my clover hooks. So we start out by putting a slip knot on our hook, pretty much like we start all crochet, and we are going to work a chain of 72. Now, if you're not comfortable with turning this big long chain into a loop, what you can do is go ahead and chain one more stitch and start single crocheting back across the row. So you'd start in the second chain from your hook and single crochet back across the row, back across the chain, and then join with the slip stitch when you get to the other end of your chain and start your base chain that way. But if you are comfortable with going ahead and joining this all into a loop, we will start with 72 chains, and then you just want to make sure that you don't have any twists in your chain, because if you do, it will cause you some heartache. So just make sure there's no twists in the chain. And for some reason, mine is wanting to twist. What is it doing? There we go. Okay, so back to the beginning of my chain, no twists. So at this point, we are going to go ahead and get these 2 loops on my hook and close up the loop with a slip stitch. Alright, at this point we will chain 1 and work right back in to that same chain that we just came out of. If I can keep my yarn on my hook. Okay. The first stitch is always a booger. Alright, so we are going to single crochet around the chain, well, in each stitch of the chain, all the way back around, so you will end up with a total of 72 single crochets. So I am going to go ahead and complete that off camera, and I will meet back up with you once I work my way back around. So I will see you in just a moment. I am really sorry. My camera all of a sudden just decided to stop on me. So let it get back in focus here. Come on. Come on, camera. So if you'll notice, I am working my single crochets under these top 2 loops of my chain. When I am doing especially a neckline where I want a good strong base row to work from, I normally do my base row that way because I feel like it just gives a bit stronger foundation to work from. However you'd like to do your base row is totally up to you. I'm not making the rules, I'm just kind of telling you how I go about it and why. So go ahead and continue on with your base row of single crochets. Like I said, at the end of this you should have a total of 72 single crochets. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my row off camera, and I'll meet back up with you when I get back around here. Okay, so I have made it around to the end of my row, So now what I want to do is just slip stitch into that very first single crochet and then chain one. We're not going to turn on this row, and go ahead and single crochet right back into that first single crochet, same stitch we just came out of. So at this point, what we are going to do is chain 4, skip 1 stitch, and single crochet into the next single crochet. Wanted to make sure I got both loops. And chain 4, and skip a stitch, single crochet into the next stitch, chain 4, skip a stitch, single into the next stitch. Now I will let you know when I'm talking about rows on this project, I will not be counting our base row of single crochets as a pattern row. So when I say row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, I will be talking about these rows that are above our base row. So to continue on with row 1 of our pattern stitches, we will chain 4, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to continue this all the way on around our row. Skip a stitch, single crochet in the next. Chain 4, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next. Skip a stitch, single in the next. Skip a stitch, single in the next. I'm going to go ahead and finish out this row off camera, and I will meet back up with you just before we end this row. So back probably about this stitch here, because I want to show you just how we're going to go about actually joining this row. So I will meet back up with you once I get around to that part of the row. Okay, so I have come around to the last single crochet of the row before we get back to this very first single crochet. So I'm going to explain to you how we're going to go about joining our rows on most of these netting stitch rows. So what we're going to do is go ahead, do a yarn over, go into that first single crochet, draw up your loop, and complete a double crochet. Then you'll want to chain 1 and kind of draw that chain 1 up a little bit on the tight side. And then go ahead and turn your work. Once you've completed this last loop here that we worked the double crochet for, you should have a total of 36 chain 4 spaces around your base. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet, chain 4, And then we'll start working our single crochets into each chain 4 space. So we'll chain 4, single crochet into the next chain 4 space, chain 4, single crochet in the next chain 4 space, chain 4, now I do want to talk to you a little bit about tension on this. You'll want to keep your tension as much of a medium tension as possible. You don't want to crochet too tight, but you don't want to crochet super loose either. The fact that we are crocheting a 3-weight yarn with a large hook, 6mm hook, is already making this fairly lacy as it is, so we don't really want to make our stitches too big to make it'll come out kind of floppy, I think, if you make your stitches too large. So just try and keep as even a medium tension on your yarn as you can as you're working your way. Also, on these rows, your odd number rows are going to be considered your right side of your work. And you'll see that there is a method to my madness when we get a little further on into the pattern rows. So go ahead and continue with your chain 4 and single crochets into the space and work on around your row. Oh, and one other thing that I forgot to mention. At this point, we probably need to put in some stitch markers because we need to mark our points. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 done. So we were about halfway through this side. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So right here we will want to put a stitch marker in. I am just going to use a piece of yarn as a stitch marker, and I just basically tie it one time around so that it's easy to untie again. And then we'll count back again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and we will mark that stitch, or space I should say. Okay, so we've got our 2 spaces marked. Those will become the points of our poncho. That will be the spaces where we work our increase rows. So let's continue on around. I almost blew it big time. Forgot to talk about the increases. So the increases, when we do our increases, they're basically going to be a large shell stitch. It'll be 7 double crochets and 7 chains. 1 chain stitch for each double crochet. that will create our point and our increases for this section. Okay, here we are at the space. We just single crocheted into the space before our increased space. So at this point, rather than chaining 4, I want you to just chain 1, and then you are just going to go ahead and double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and you will continue to double crochet and chain 1 until you have 7 double crochets into this same space. And then you chain 1 after that last double crochet. So let's just go back and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we continue on with our row, single crochet in that next space. Then we go back to our chain 4 and single crochet in the top of the next space. I'm going to go ahead and work the rest of these off camera. I will meet back up with you when we get to this space just before our next increase. Sorry, camera malfunctions once again. So what I was saying is, you might think that this is a lot of chain 4 loops in a really small space. And yes, admittedly, it is. However, once we get to our shell rows, any ruffliness that you get from there being so many stitches right here, all that ruffliness is going to get worked out once we do our shell stitches. So let's go ahead and continue on with our row. Bear with me, need a little more yarn. And when you are working your chain 4 loops, you do want to make sure that you don't skip a loop like I just did right there. So let me go back to that and fix that. You want to make sure that you have a chain 4 loop worked into every single chain space. There we go. Well, if I could keep my yarn on my hook, I'd be in good shape. Okay, so as you can see, this is the same thing that we've been doing on the other two netting rows. Just a chain 4, single crochet into the chain 4 space. So at this point I am going to work the rest of this on around to the next increase space off camera, and I will be right back. All right, so I have made it back around to our next big shell stitch, so let's go ahead and work on over this increase. So chain 4, single crochet into each one of the chain 1 spaces between our double crochets. And there's our last chain 1 space. And then we'll be back working into the top of each chain 4 space for the rest of the row. So at this point, I'm going to continue working on around the row off of camera, and I will meet back up with you right as we get ready to end our row. So I will see you there. I have made it to the last single crochet of the row. So at this point, what I'm going to do is go ahead and work that double crochet into that first single crochet of the row, just as we've done before. And then we're going to chain 1, pull it a little tight, and go ahead and turn our work. And single crochet right back into that same space. And from here we are just going to start working our chain 4 and single crochet into each chain 4 space. I think I'm getting tired. Okay. And this will be row 4 of our net stitches. And so since it is an even numbered row, you are currently working on the wrong side of your work. Not that it makes a whole lot of difference, because with this stitch both sides look the same anyway, but it will matter further on in the pattern. So at this point, you're just going to continue working on around the row, the round, whatever you want to call it, with the chain 4 and single crochet in chain 4 space. So I am going to work the rest of this row off camera, and I will meet back up with you when we get around to the end of the row. I'll see you there. All right, we are back to the end of this row or round, and so we are going to go ahead and work our double crochet right into that very first single crochet to end out this round. Chain 1, pull it up a bit tight, and go ahead and turn your work. And this begins row 5. So row 5 is once again worked the same exact way that we've been doing the previous rows, by chaining 4, single crochet into top of each chain 4 space. And I'm sorry, I'm drifting off camera. So continue with chaining 4, working your single crochets into the chain 4 spaces. And I'm going to let you continue working that on around the row. I will work the rest of my row off camera, and I will meet back up with you right about the end of round 5. So I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, at this point I have made it to my final final single crochet of this particular round. And here we have our first single crochet of the row. But what we're going to do is we're going to check something here. I have moved my markers to indicate to me where the center of my point is going to be. When you're working your shell rows, this will be a single crochet in this space for just about every single layer of the poncho. So you'll want to mark this, you'll want to mark your center points on either side of your poncho so that you know that these spaces will always be single crochets. So what we want to do is count back to where we're going to end the row and see what we are going to be working at this space, because that will let us know how we want to end our row. So we've got single crochet, shell, single crochet, shell, and at this one we will be working a single crochet. So at this point that lets us know that we can go ahead and end this row with the double crochet as usual. Chain 1 and do our single crochet into that space. So at this point, you notice when I worked that, normally what we do is we work our double crochet, chain 1, and turn our work. But on this particular row, we are not going to turn. We are just going to go ahead and work that double or that single crochet right on into that space. Then in the next space, we are going to work a shell of 5 double crochets. Then in our next space, we will work a single. In our next space, we will work our shell. In our next space, which is the point of our shawl on this side, we will work a single crochet. That yarn just insists it's got to be in my way. Then we will work, we're starting on the other side of our shawl, the other half of it, and we will work a shell. And another single, and shell. And basically, you will continue that all the way around. And when you get this round done, you will notice that the ruffly look that we had from our increase row is starting to flatten out. And it will flatten out even more so with the next row. So I am going to continue working the shells and single crochets in every other stitch. Now I'm going to work the rest of this row off camera, and I will meet back up with you right towards the end of the row. So I will meet you there. Okay, so here I am at the last shell of this round, and I am ready to finish the round out by simply slip stitching right into that first single crochet of the round. Then we are going to chain one, pull it up a little tight, and turn our work. Now, if your count has worked out right, and it should have if you followed what I was doing, so from point to point on each side of the point, you will have 12 shells. So you will have, for the round, for the entire round, you are going to have 24 shells. So starting on the next row or start round, we are going to go ahead and chain 1 right back into this same space or stitch. Then this is where the magic happens. This is what is going to create our texture or our layers, as it were. So we are going to do front post half double crochets around each double crochet stitch in our shells. Then in each single crochet we will just work a single crochet. So once again we are back to our double crochets, so we will work our front post half double. And so remember, because you are on an even numbered row, we are working the back side of our work. So where the magic is actually happening is on the other side of our work, our right side, that we can't even see right now. So now that we've got a few of the shells done, I'm going to turn it back over and show you what we're getting. This is what creates our layers, is working those half doubles around our double crochet stitches. And that's what creates all our beautiful texture throughout the poncho. So you will just continue right around doing half double, front post half doubles around your double crochets and a single crochet in each single crochet. Front post half double, and a single. So I am going to continue working the rest of this round off camera and let you work at your own pace around the rest of this round, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the round. See you there. Okay, we've made it back around with all of our front post half doubles and single crochets in between each of the shells. And at this point, we will finish out our row by simply slip stitching into that very first single crochet, pull our stitch up a little tight. Now, rather than chaining one, I want you to just go ahead and turn your work. And then what we're going to do is slip stitch into those first 2 stitches of your shell stitch. Then chain 1 and single crochet right into that same stitch. Then we are going to chain 4, skip 1 stitch, and single crochet into the next. Then we will chain 4, and we are going to skip 3 stitches, because what we're doing is we are skipping over the stitches that are kind of in between the shell. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and then we'll single crochet into that next stitch. Chain 4 and single crochet, skip 1 and then single crochet into the next. Chain 4, skip 3 stitches, and single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 4, skip 1 stitch, single crochet into the next. Skip 3, single crochet into the next. Chain 4, skip 1, single in the next. Chain 4, skip 3, single crochet. Skip 1, skip 3, skip 1, skip 3, skip 1, skip 3. So basically we will continue the round by chaining 4, skipping 1, single in the next, chain 4, skip 3, single in the next. We're going to continue to alternate those all the way around back to the beginning of our round. So I am going to continue this off camera, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the round. So I'll see you there. Okay, so I have come back around to the beginning of our round. So at this point, what we will want to do is go ahead and finish the round in our usual way by double crocheting into that first single crochet stitch. Then we will chain 1, chain 1, pull up tight, and turn our work. So if you take a look, you will see that that row of half double crochets did finish out our first layer of the poncho. So this row is going to be row 1 of the netting stitches for our second layer. And let me get back around to the back. And so now we are starting row 2 of the netting stitches. And we are going to continue working just as we did for layer 1. And on this row, we will want to go ahead and move our stitch markers. I really need to get some regular stitch markers down here. We will want to go ahead and move our stitch markers. Now, if you ever take a stitch marker out and you get a little lost as to where your center point of your poncho is supposed to be, go back down to your previous increase and take a look. So you will count over 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. That will be your center stitch of that shell. So go ahead and count above that into that space, above that into that space, and above this into this space. And that will be our center space. So that is where we will work our next increase. And then we will do the same at the other point. So once again, take a look, see where your doubles are, and count over 4 stitches. The 4th stitch is your center stitch of your increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Go into the space just above that, into the space above that one, and into the space that you just did for row 1. And you will put your stitch marker into that space. And there we are. We have our stitches marked, or our spaces marked for our next set of increases. So we are going to continue working round 2 until we get to those increase spaces. So it is the chain 4, single crochet, chain 4, single crochet, and I'm going to work the rest of this off camera until I get up to my space, my marked space. So I'll see you back there. Okay, I've just completed the single crochet into the space before my marked space for the increase. So at this point, instead of chaining 4, remember that we just just chain 1. And then we will start working into our marked space with double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and continue with the double crochet, chain 1 until you have worked a total of 7 double crochets into that same space. So this will be number 7. After we complete our 7th double crochet, and I do want to count just to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm glad I counted because I'm short one. And 7. Okay. Single crochet, or I'm sorry, do a single chain after your last double crochet in that space, and then single crochet into the next chain 4 space. And then continue on with the chain 4 and single crochet. And I am going to continue to do the rest of the single crochets and chain 4s on around until I get to my next marker. So I will meet back up with you once I reach this space here. See you there. Okay, once again I have completed my single crochet into the space just before my marked space. So I will chain 1 and start working my double crochet, chain 1, repeat into the marked space. And as before, you will want to work a total of 7 double crochets with 1 chain between each of those double crochets. And there's number 7. Then we work 1 chain after that last double crochet and single crochet into the very next space. And then we continue on as usual, working our chain 4 and single crochets into the chain 4 space. And here we are back to our beginning of the row. I thought we had further to go. So at this point we will go ahead and work our double crochet into that first single crochet of the round, chain 1, pull it up a little tight, and turn our work. And then we will continue on. This will be round 3 of our pattern rounds. So we start with our single crochet and chain 4, chain 4, single crochet, chain 4. Now you're working into that chain 1 space, and you will want to chain 4 and work a single crochet into each chain 1 space between your double crochets. Okay, so here we are to our 7th double crochet, and we have the chain 1 space immediately following that. We want to make sure that we work a single crochet into that space as well. Don't skip that space or that will throw your count off. And then just continue on as usual, working your chain 4s and single crochets. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and work the rest of this round off camera, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the round. And here I am back around to the beginning of the round. So I am going to go ahead and complete the round by double crocheting into the top of that first single crochet, then chain 1, pull up a little tight, and go ahead and turn my work. Single crochet right back into that same space, and continue as usual with the chain 4 and single crochets into the chain 4 space. So at this point, you have done this same row several times. So I am going to go ahead and complete the row off camera, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the row. All right, I have finished out our row 4 with the double crochet, just as we've been doing. So at this point, I am going to chain 1, pull it up a little tight, and turn my work. And then single crochet right back into that same space, chain 4, and continue with the chain 4 single crochet pattern as we have been doing. For every other row of this section. And when you are working this row, when you get to your increases, you will want to make sure to move your stitch marker up so that you have your center point marked, because that will be important on your next row to let you know that that is your single crochet stitch in the center of your point. So I'm going to go ahead and move my marker up. So to find my center space of that spot, I will need to count over to the 4th double crochet in the increase, go to the space above it. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go to the space above it and the space above it, and that will be my center point. Okay, and then I am going to continue to work my chain 4, single crochet, whoops, and I'm going to just continue working the chain 4s and single crochets all the way on around. And like I said, just make sure that when you get to your increase spot that you move your marker up to the center of your point. So I'm going to go ahead and work on through the rest of this round, and I will meet back up with you at the end of the round. So I will see you there. Okay, I am back around to the beginning of this row, and I have gone ahead and moved my stitch markers for either point of the poncho to let me know where my single crochet spaces will be. And so what I want to do now, before I end this, I do want to count back from this chain space and make sure what this space will be on the next row. That will let me know how I am going to end this row. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to say single crochet, shell, single crochet, shell, single crochet, shell, single crochet, and that lets me know that this space, when I do the next row, is going to be a shell space. So what I can do, instead of doing the double crochet to end it, I will just go ahead and work 4 chains. Come on, camera, focus. Work my 4 chains and slip stitch into this next space. Okay, so at this point we are not going to turn because we are on our 5th row of our netting stitches. So our next row is going to be our shells and singles. So I want to go ahead and slip stitch over into this space, then chain 1 and work a single crochet right into that same space. Then we will start working our 5 double crochets. Work the next single. In the next space we work our shell. In our next space we work a single. In the next space we work our shell. And just make sure I do have 5. Okay. Oops. Okay, and then in the next space, which is the center point of our poncho, we will work our single, and then we will continue on, alternating the shells and singles in each space of the round. Just want to focus on the other side of the poncho. So at this point, just continue on around working shells, five double crochet shells and single crochets in every other space. Okay, so you will just continue working that all the way around until you reach back to the beginning of your round. And I will work the rest of my row off camera, and I will meet back up with you at the beginning of the round. See you there. Okay, here I am. I have just completed the last shell of the round. So at this point, I will slip stitch right into the top of that very first single crochet of the round. Then I'm going to chain one, pull it up a little tight, and turn my work. And then we are going to go ahead and work a single crochet right back into that same stitch. So at this point, once you have created this row of shells, you will have 15 shells on each side of your stitch marker. So for the round, you will have a total of 30 shells. So the previous layer had 24. This one has 30. So basically, we are increasing our shell count on each layer by 6 shells. So we are going to go ahead and repeat our row of front post half doubles, and that will complete layer 2 of the poncho. So let's go ahead and get started with the half double, front post half doubles. So for every double crochet in your shell, you'll want to work a front post half double. Then for each single crochet, you will just work another single on top of it. So you will continue working on a round, alternating the front post half doubles over your double crochet stitches of the shells. And then working your single crochet on top of each single crochet stitch. I'm going to go ahead and continue the rest of this round off camera and let you work it as well. And I will meet back up with you at the end of this round. So at this point, guys, we have made it back around to the beginning of the round. So I am going to go ahead and work a slip stitch into that first, into that first single crochet. And I am not going to chain at this point. I am going to simply turn my work. Now, at this point, we have worked together through 2 layers of our poncho. So I am going to end this part of the tutorial with this layer and let you go ahead and continue working just the same way that we worked these 2 layers. And you'll want to work at least 5 layers. And so I'm going to end this tutorial here. I will continue with part 2 of the tutorial, which will involve creating our sleeves. So go ahead and work 3 more layers, just the same as we have done these 2 layers. So you'll work your 5 rows of netting, work your shell row, alternating with the single crochet, and then your front post half doubles, and then you go back to working the netting row just like we did before. You'll want to slip stitch into the first 2 stitches of your half doubles, chain 1, single crochet right back into that same stitch, then chain 4, skip 1 stitch, single crochet, chain 4, and skip 3, single crochet into the next stitch, chain 4, skip 1 stitch, and keep working this way right on around this round of your poncho, and that will start you on your way to layer 3. So the next video that I release will be continuing on with the poncho after we've gotten at least 5 rows done, 5 layers done, I should say, and I will show you how to work in the sleeves. So Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments section. I am going to post in the description of the video, I will give you the count of how many shells you will have for each layer. So, good luck. I hope you enjoy, and I will meet back up with you after layer 5, and we will work on sleeves. See you soon.